coast to coast. And we got another break is here as J.C. Sheldon goes right after Sophie Cunningham.
Yeah, today was supposed to be all about Game 5 of this WNBA playoff series between the Aces and Fever. Instead, so many off-the-court news stories coming out involving the WNBA, headlined by the comments that Minnesota Lynx star Napheesa Collier made today regarding the WNBA as a whole and its leadership in Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. Those comments actually referenced Fever superstar Caitlin Clark at one point.
I'm blaming this all on the officials tonight. It is totally their responsibility. That's a hard foul. That's a flagrant foul. And if they had taken care of the business earlier, we wouldn't be in this situation right now.
Collier saying that she was once having a conversation with Engelbert about why so many of these superstars, whether it's Caitlin, Angel Reese, Paige Beckers, are making so little in their first few years in their contracts.
Kelly escorting her back to the bench.
J.C. Sheldon is there.
Considering how much revenue they're bringing into the sport, here's the comment right there on your screen that Engelbert allegedly said in response to Collier's question. Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. Those were the alleged statements that Collier said Engelbert made after asking her that question.
One of the only reasons men would be against a matriarchal society is because they think that men would be treated the same way that women are treated in a patriarchal society.
So first of all, I'd like to congratulate the Mercury for advancing to the finals. And I want to be clear, this conversation is not about winning or losing. It's about something much bigger. The real threat to our league isn't money, it isn't ratings, or even missed calls, or even physical play. It's the lack of accountability from the league office. Since I've been in the league, you've heard the constant concerns about officiating, and it has now reached levels of inconsistency that plague our sport and undermine the integrity in which it operates. Whether the league cares about the health of the players is one thing, but to also not care about the product we put on the floor is truly self-sabotage. Year after year, the only thing that remains consistent is the lack of accountability from our leaders.
The WNBA finds itself in a curious position now as what should be a coronation, a celebration of the two teams that made the WNBA finals, has actually turned into a somewhat scandal in that a women's league ran by women is having all kinds of difficulties that basically point to the structure of the sport itself and showing that there are major, major problems. And you could start with the fouls.
The shot, Heidemann in the open court, gives it up to Shepard, who is hammered.
The league has a buzzword that they've rolled out as talking points for the CBA as to why they can't pay the players what we're worth. That word is sustainability. But what's truly unsustainable is keeping a good product on the floor while allowing officials to lose control of games. Fans see it every night. Coaches, both winning and losing, point it out every night in pregame and postgame media. Yet leadership just issues fines and looks the other way. They ignore the issues that everyone inside the game is begging to be fixed. That is negligence.
I'm blaming this all on the officials tonight. It is totally their responsibility. That's a hard foul. That's a flagrant foul. And if they had taken care of the business earlier, we wouldn't be in this situation right now.
Most people hear the word matriarchy and immediately think it means the opposite of patriarchy, as if it's about women dominating men. But that's not what matriarchy means at all. Matriarchal societies do exist, but they're not built on dominance. They're built on balance, relationship, and collective well-being.
At Unrivaled this past February, I sat across from Cathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs.
Do offensively. Jordan just, and Jordan goes down hard.
Down slower than any guy in the league. Down he goes, Isiah.
Woolridge set the pick. Jordan lost Vinnie Johnson, and Lambert just fired at Jordan. Michael doesn't like it.
If you do a Google image search for David Stern and Michael Jordan, one thing you'll notice in almost all of the images that come up is that David Stern has a big old cheesy grin on his face. And the reason why is simple, because he was a doggone businessman and he was looking at his cash cow. As much as I love the bad boy Pistons, David Stern understood one simple thing about the NBA. He had a player that he needed to market, and he had to change the way the game was being played so that his best player could shine.
Now, here's also the truth. What Michael Jordan did for the NBA, hey man, we all still eating off of that. At that time, being president of the Players Association, we was getting 53% of the gross. So every dollar that came in, we got 53 cents on every dollar. And Michael Jordan was good for business.
Yeah.
He was great for business. And what Michael Jordan did for the NBA and our league, he took it to a level that none of us could.
This is excessive.
It looked like it was an accident when J.C. Sheldon originally hit Caitlin Clark, but then it was the aftermath.
If one were to frame this as a matriarchal system like the WNBA headed by a woman for women versus the NBA system headed by a man for men, then one only needs to look at what David Stern did at the end of the 80s into the 90s and heading into the boom years of the NBA. He essentially said we need to change the rules so that our best player can be what people want to see. And even though at the time the Pistons didn't like the rules, he essentially said, hey, gentlemen, would you like to make more money? And even Michael Jordan's fiercest rival said, you know what? That sounds like a good idea.
Men don't want the matriarchy because they fear that we will treat them the same way that they treat us under the patriarchy. And truthfully, this is the sign for me that they know exactly what they're doing to us.
I'm not necessarily sure what a matriarchal structure would look like in terms of running a business, but I'd imagine that the WNBA is about as close as you can get to it in the Western world. And in a situation where they basically have a chance to make money for everyone by just centering Caitlin Clark, it seems kind of straightforward, right? Wouldn't you do the same thing for Caitlin Clark that the NBA did for Michael Jordan, and everyone could walk away with more money? But I don't think that's even what the president of the league thinks.
I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league, are making so little for their first 4 years. Her response was, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. And in that same conversation, she told me players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them. That's a mentality driving our league from the top. We go to battle every day to protect a shield that doesn't value us. The league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because of them.
I'm blaming this all on the officials tonight. It is totally their responsibility. That's a hard foul. That's a flagrant foul. And if they had taken care of the business earlier, we wouldn't be in this situation right now.
For a really long time, they pretended the patriarchy didn't exist, that we were making it up. There's still some of them who do that. But by and large, in the last, I would say like 3 or 4 years, they've started admitting the patriarchy does exist, but the patriarchy is the natural way of life. But if the patriarchy was the natural way of life, then why is the word burning?
Yeah, I mean, this will be a better angle of it. I think we'll be able to see how hard the foul is right here. That's a hard foul, and she does get her in the face when she's coming down with her hand.
Why is the word burning under their guidance and their instruction? Why are there wars? Why do all of these things exist? But truthfully, they simply do not believe that we are more capable of treating them with equality and kindness, because they are so unused to treating us with equality and kindness.
I have the privilege of watching my husband run a league where he has to balance 100 different things at once. I won't pretend the job is easy, but even with all of that on his plate, he always takes the time to reach out to players when he sees an injury, whether it's unrivaled or even during the WNBA season. That is what leadership looks like. It's the human element. It's basic integrity, and it's the bare minimum any leader should embody. This year alone, I've gotten calls, texts, and well wishes from so many players across the league. Those moments remind me that sometimes there are things bigger than the results than this game we play. But do you know who I haven't heard from? Cathy. Not one call, not one text. Instead, the only outreach has come from her number 2 telling my agent that she doesn't believe physical play is contributing to injuries. That is infuriating. And it's the perfect example of the tone-deaf, dismissive approach that our leaders always seem to take. I have finally grown tired. For too long, I have tried to have these conversations in private, but it's clear there is no intention of accepting there's a problem. The league has made it clear it isn't about innovation, it isn't about collaboration, it's about control and power.
It's very interesting on the eve of what should be a celebration of women's basketball. It's women coming out speaking against other women in a league ran by women for women. Now, is this an end-all be-all? No, of course not. But in a league that is representative of, well, quite simply put, feminism, of women being able to run a league and being able to run a business, why on the eve of the biggest event or the biggest part of the season for their league is all of this coming out? And the simple answer I have is, this is not a great sell for matriarchy. Now, is it? If you're telling gentlemen that matriarchy is us working together and making sure that we can all succeed and have what we need so that we can help other women, this is not a great demonstration of it. Now, is it? If it were Killmonger looking at these women run their league, he would say, is this your matriarchy? I would imagine if this were a group of men, they would say, hey, listen, this is the NBA Finals. Keep all of this stuff underneath so we can all make our money. And then we'll talk about this later in some other place. But this is women in the same situation, and they're kind of sort of fumbling the bag. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. I'll catch you next video. Take care.